In this episode, I would like us to be able to work with the buttons. In our previous tutorial, we had created the view, edit, and delete button in the place where we were displaying the questions. And in a short while, we will go and check that. But for us to just continue, the first thing I want us to do is to run XAMPP. That is Apache and MySQL. And then I also want to also run our Laravel application. So in this case, I'm going to create a terminal, and in one of the terminals, I'm going to type the command npm run dev to compile our assets, and then I will also to compile our assets and to watch and also reload vit, and then I also do php artisan serve to run our Laravel application. And I think that will be good enough, so we will give it some time. But I want us to just handle this button here called view, and so I want to just add a click handler. So I will just say at click, and remember in Vue.js this one is written v on click, but then you can just write it by shorthand like that. And now in this case, I can call this button, let me call it what? View modal. In other words, view, let me call it view question. In this case, we will be viewing the question, and also we will be viewing the answer. And I also want us to, because when we were looping in, we were able to get the index of the question. So in this case, it will assist us to get the current selected row. In this case, I also want to pass in the index. So I will type in here index. And then I'm going to create a method that is called view question in our script setup. So here we have very many methods. Let me create it below define props here. So we have called it view question, so function view question, and we can also be able to use the arrow function in ES6, but I just maintain this, and I just want us to pass in again our index. In this case, what we are passing in is actually is a selected value. In this case, we can just, because it's the index that we passed in the method, we can have it like this. And then I can say alert index. So we can load the application and see if we can be able to click on it. So let me just open Chrome, and so you type localhost 8000. And once we are able to do that, we can be able to see our application loading. So let me give it some time. Yes, this is our application. And of course, there are things that we are still yet to work on, but on the questions, we actually have some few things that we have here. So this is the button that we have actually been working on, and you can see it's telling us that the index is 0. If we click on the next question, the index is 1. The next question, the index is 2. And the other question, we have the index as 3. So everything is going on fine. On top of that, I want us to also, as we click this, we can be able to You remember in our previous tutorial we created the teleport and we also had the model imported into our application, and I want us to just sort of like reuse that model. And so here we had a ref value that we did call it show question model. That is the ref value that we had, show new question model. In this case, I want to just create another one which we will still show the same model, and so here I can say show view question. Can I call it model like that? And in this case the default you set it to false like that, and I'll copy this such that when that button is clicked, then we can be able to show a model that we are calling view question. So let me just double click and copy like that, and then now you come and paste it here. So we can say show view question model dot value will now be set to true in this case, and then because there's no model with that name, I just want us to, or in other words with this value, I just want us to set it down here. And what we are going to do, of course, we will copy whatever it is that we have here. So in this teleport body we have new question model, so I'm still going to use the same model. So I will copy it, and then probably I can copy everything that is sorry, things are mixing up. I can copy everything that is on this first line, and then I'm going to have it down here. So we will still have still under the teleport, I still just have the same model, so meaning even the naming probably was not very okay for this one. So now we have our new question model, and I think that is okay. The only thing that we need to change is this, such that when somebody clicks on that button, then we can be able to use whatever it is that we have created in this method here. There's something that we have just done right now, and that is what I want us to put here. So what we have is actually show view question model or something of that sort. So I'm going to copy this, and then when we click on it, I want us to change, in this case, this value and pass it in as props. It will go to our new question model, and in this case, because in our new question model we have some default values, I believe those are the values that are going to be shown. So let me just save, and before maybe I save, I can be able to just push this one down such that our code will be in between here, whatever it is that we will be passing to this new question model. So now when I refresh, but of course Vite also refreshes it for us, so it's not a must for me to refresh it. Actually it's a waste of time, but as we wait, we can just check and see that it's actually displaying our model. But there's something that we have. When you check, we are actually first of all displaying the we are also alerting the index, and I think that one now is totally unnecessary, so I can comment it out. So now if it is refreshed again, when we click on it, now you can see it's showing our model again nicely. Of course, in this thing that we are working with, as you can see, we will have actually several models. In fact, we will still have another one, but we can just be able to reuse the model that we created. Now inside here, I want us to have values that are similar to whatever it is that we had in a previous tutorial video. So this is what I want us to check. Obviously, we have questions that are being brought about here, and we have these questions, all of them. So I will be displaying the question here in such a way that one can be able to edit it. And I also, on top of displaying the questions, I also want to display the answers below it, such that we can also be able to edit the answers, change the correct answer and all that. And then once we can be able to do that, we can also be able to submit. So let us go ahead and see what we can be able to just do here. And so I want us to, you remember in our new question model, we have slots. We have a slot called success. This one you give us a success message, maybe probably after we have edited and clicked save, such that it's saved in the database. So we have a success slot, we have body slot, and then we also have header slot, and finally we also have footer. In other words, a slot called footer. So let us go and be able to use or work with all those slots. So I want us to have a template, and inside here I want us to just begin by passing some data in the header slot, and I'm just going to call it header, the name of the slot, like that. And inside here I would just like us to have some text. Let me just put some text. Maybe I can say H5, and inside here I can write view questions stroke answers. And I think it's supposed to be view question, because we will be viewing a single question and the answers thereof. So as you can see, that one is displaying nicely. Then of course inside the body I want us to have another template. So in this case we will have a template and we are going to call it body. So I put hash body, and inside the body, if you check our previous tutorial, and I know there is a possibility you've gone through it, what we were doing inside here, we were also passing of course the alert. But before we do that, let me first of all just display the questions. We can do the alerts later. So inside the template body, I want us to just use a paragraph tag. And inside the paragraph tag, probably I want it a little bit highlighted. So maybe I can use an HTML tag called strong, just to make it a little bit boldened. And here we are going to have the question, so I can write question, and I can be able to display the selected question. I do not know if we actually have it we have something regarding selected question. We do not have anything of that sort, so that is what I'm going to work on. And so we are going to set the selected question. Once we click here, because we are passing the index, we can be able to set the index of the selected question, and we will do that as follows. Remember that our questions, we can still use the same values that we received in our previous tutorial, where we were receiving the question object. And remember, this question object was also having the answers. So now I want us to go ahead inside this view question and be able to set the selected question. So we will have a ref value here, another one. So we are going to have another ref value. So in this case, I can say const selected question. And we are going to set it to null at the beginning. And then now we can be able to ensure that we modify once a user clicks on a question, and we can be able to modify and have it here. So I'm going to have selected question, and in this case we have to set dot value because we are inside the script setup. If you are in the template, you can be able to just pick it as selected question, but if you are on this other one, you have to say selected question dot value. I believe I have typed it like that. Let me just confirm. Yes, selected question, I think that's perfect. Dot value. And so we can be able to access the questions object and check for the index that is being passed here. So if the index is 0, we will check for the questions and check for index 0, and then check and then get that question. So what we are going to do is we will go to props, and in this case, when we are talking about props, we are referring to this, and then we will go inside the questions model. So it will be props dot questions, like that, and then we are going to pass in the index, the value that is being passed here, but this will actually give us the selected question. So I'm going to save this, and we are going to try and see if we will actually have the question. So I go back here and say our question now is going to be selected question, and then we are checking for questions, because for each question inside the question object we have questions, and the questions will be, is it questions or question? I think selected question dot question. Let me just check if there's anything being displayed. Yes, I think that one is okay, like that. Who created Laravel? And then also, I also want us to also display the answers for this specific question. I do not want to, I just want us to do it on this object where we are having this object here. I mean where we are having the view question method. And I want us also to get selected answers. So in this case, we can say answers. Do we have anything called answers up here? Answers. We just have new answer. I guess we will have to create answers, a ref that contains answers. Just the same way we did on the previous tutorial. So here we have new answers. And I also want us to have another one. So const just answers. And in this case we can use ref and we can set it as an empty array. So I want us to put some values inside that array, and this is what we are going to do for us to be able to do that. So I will say answer.value is going to be given by props so what we are going to have, props dot question and then we are going to pass in questions. We are going to pass in the index, and then for each question we have answers. So I will say dot answers like that. Can be able to save that. And in this case, when we click on view, I want to just allow us to be able to edit answers only, not the question, because when you click on edit is where I want us to edit only the question, such that we can be able to change the formation of the question and all that. That is how I have decided to design this. I'm not sure if it is the best way, but let us just do it like that. Obviously, if you want to do it on your own, probably you might have a different idea and you can be able to set it exactly the way you want it. Now, down here, I want us to be able to have the answers. And I believe we have something that can just be able to assist us to do that. And I'm going to copy this table. There's this table that we had somewhere in our previous tutorial, the one that we created. I would like to copy the whole of this table. I do not want to type the whole of it, so I will copy the whole of the table, and I think it has to begin with form. There is form tag somewhere. No, not necessarily. I will just copy table only. Let me just copy table only. It's not necessary for me to copy the form, and in this case I'm going to paste it down here, still inside body, but there are things that are going to change. Now you save. The array that we are reading is not new answers, it's actually answers. Like that, what we have just created right now. I can see that we have an error. I would like to just check and see why we have that error. We have one problem. Probably let me attempt to open terminal such that I can see the description of it. The problem is invalid end tag. Invalid end tag. So I will have to check what I have pasted here. So we are beginning with the table and we are ending with the table, and then what is happening? Template header. Yes, because I copied up until table body. There is something that I left out, so let me just go back and copy the rest up until table body. Yes, I need also to copy table head, so I will copy it from here, table class table, the whole of table head up until where table body begins. That is what is missing, and I will come and paste it here. So I will paste it here. I push this one a little bit down. As you can see, it seems I'm working on a lot of data on the same file, and probably that is not the best way to do it, but let us see. If you can be able to follow, it's fine. If you have issues, you can just be able to copy a bootstrap table from bootstrap.com and come and paste it exactly the way it is, like this. Just a table with just one table row inside it, and then everything here I'm going to just explain. So I'm going to save this. Now let us look at our table and we see one or two things about the table that we have. It's actually very similar to the table that we're having above there. And when you look at it, we have answer. We are looping through answers. But now in this case, we are looping through a constant that we have set up there right now, which is called answers. But in this previous table, we were looping through new answers. So these one are answers that we actually are getting them from the database. And what has happened is that all this other code, I think, will be maintained. I think will be maintained. Only this radio toggle, probably we will change this one, because now it will be doing something else. But we will check first, because it seems we do not have to repeat typing this code, because to me it seems fine. Let me save it and see what is going to happen. I was actually thinking I would type the whole of it, but actually you can see it's not that bad. So we have who created Laravel, and we have Taylor Otwell selected as the correct answer. Then we have other names: Albert Stan, George Bernard, and Taylor Otwell. Obviously our button, when we attempt our model, when we attempt to close it, it does not close. But we can be able to work with that in a short while. We just pass in the some data on the footer, and that I think will be just good enough. So let us go to the footer of our table, and then we are going to do a few things. We are just going to do put some things there. So these ones you allow the user to just edit, and then they will submit. That is everything that we will be doing. Now what I want us to do is also to be able to, because this is template body, I also want to create another template which I'm going to call footer after the end of the template body here. So I'm going to have a template, and in this case I'm going to just name it footer, like that. And by just doing that, you can see we are almost overriding whatever it is that we have here. So let me go ahead and be able to create several buttons here, and I just need 2 buttons. I need a button for submit, so I'm going to just have a button with a class of btn, btn success. And remember, we are using Bootstrap, and this one, how you call it, we can say save, or should we say submit? Doesn't really matter. And then the other button I want to have is a button for closing, button, and we can say close. So in this case, this is for closing the model, and we can give it a class of btn danger, like that. When I save, obviously you see this is what we have. I would like to end this video here, because if I continue, there is still some work that is there to be done, and if I do not end it here, we are going to have a very long video. Instead of doing that, I would like to end it here such that you can be able to just consume what we have here, and then in our next tutorial video we can be able to save and also check the amendments. As you can see, these buttons are not working, so we can also be able to see how we can be able to handle radio toggle, in that when somebody clicks to change this, then it can be able to be changed on the data that we are having here, such that we can be able to do this. So I will do that, and also saving. Once we are able to save, and I will also be able to put a flash messaging here such that it will display once our new information has been saved. And we will also be able to dive into the Laravel backend to be able to just process our data. So I do not know if we'll be able to complete all that in the next tutorial, but at least progress is progress. Thank you very much for following this tutorial up until this point.